Right, don't really feel like making a video, but I have to comment on this. It's the mentality of the left and centre. It's the extent to which they're out of touch. They don't understand the position that they're in. This is Laura Kuenssberg, isn't it? Listen to what she says.
I was quite shocked by a senior figure in the party said to me, we're all starting to be haunted by the prospect of being like the party that allowed Biden to run.
Biden won the election for them. Well, did he? Right. I'm still a bit suspicious about 2020, I have to admit. I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but the election in 2020 and that uptick in the middle of the night, I watched the coverage all the way through. Still seems creepy to me, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was above board. Maybe the mail-in ballots were all genuine. But it still seems creepy to me. But no, Biden was the guy who won the election for them. You note that this Democrat who apparently spoke to Kuenssberg doesn't comment that they're the party who ran Kamala, right, who lost, who was a terrible candidate, who alienated the centre. They don't say that. They say that we're the party that allowed Biden to run. Okay, we know that his presidency was not exactly inspiring, and certainly it helped them to lose the centre in the course of Biden's presidency. But even then, did they have anybody better in 2019? The answer is no, they didn't. And perhaps Biden was the strongest candidate they had in that year. Anyway, let's continue.
Because none of us could sort of bear pulling the plaster off. It was too difficult and too painful. And it's not a straightforward comparison to make. But when that person said that to me, I thought, blimey. So there is that sense, Henry, you say some people, do you sleepwalk into disaster? I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster, but that feeling of, oh God, if we just let this happen and don't make a change.
Right, so she's basically saying that they need to get rid of Starmer. But this is what makes me think just how out of touch she is. Well, those two things. The principal thing, I suppose, is that she doesn't realise that Labour does not have a better candidate than Starmer. The Labour Party is not really doing as badly as it's doing because of Starmer. Starmer couldn't have done better, given that he is a Labour politician. There's nothing he could have done differently, right? Everybody else in the party is at least as bad and generally even worse. She doesn't seem to think this. She seems to be under the impression that they just chose the wrong guy. Had you chosen anybody else, you might not have won as emphatically as you did at the last election. And not only that, but your position now might be even worse. Don't get me wrong. I hate Starmer as much as anybody in the country. But what, you think the rest of the Labour Party or anybody else in the Labour Party is better or preferable? They don't have anybody better or preferable. Most of their other candidates are worse, or at least as bad. It isn't really Starmer's fault. It's the Labour Party's fault. It's the left and centre's fault. They don't seem to be willing to accept this. It's the whole political culture of the Western world, of white people really, that has swung to the right. Right? We have had it. It's not Keir Starmer or any individual. We have turned right as an electorate. That's why Reform are going to get elected at the next election. And that we're not stopping there, right? That's not where the radicalisation, the move rightward ends. Okay, this is only the beginning. So yeah, those two mistakes really show you how out of touch they are, how they're in denial. They haven't understood the change that is actually underway, that we're actually part of right now. For one thing, she didn't put any responsibility on Kamala when she was discussing the American situation. like Kamala was a viable candidate and Biden was the only problem. No, it was the shift of political culture. This is what she fails to understand. And then in the British case, it's the same thing. It's not Starmer. It's not any individual. It is a political, cultural revolution. That is what we are going through. And they clearly, as you can see, cannot see it. And I would just end by suggesting that part of the reason for that is that Laura Kuenssberg and so many people like her on the left and centre all those of them who are not white men, are affirmative action, positive discrimination promotions.